Okay, it's okay, better.
Yeah.
It's now changed.
Okay. All right. So regarding this productivity, an example from my own company, right? So when it was started, Jasse was doing it mostly by himself. So he would rent an apartment for 10 months, put it on Airbnb, get a revenue of about 40 months, because so many people wanted to rent it. And so that means that his added value, his productivity, basically, that means that his output minus his input, the rent, and he didn't pay any salaries, because he was doing everything by himself, from cleaning and everything else. So his productivity, as you may, his sales price minus his input cost was 30 man yen, and he only had like 3-4 houses at the same time. But his margin was very high. Now, as time progressed, his company started to grow. I got on board, other people got on board, and what also happened was that basically more and more people were getting into this market. So the occupancy of these houses was reducing from 90% to 78% in the next year. Plus, all these people were taking salaries. Right, so we see that the sales price is going from 90% from Yonjuman to 78%, going to maybe 32 man. Plus, it was divided by more people. More people were on board, so these costs needed to be added. So the output, the added value per worker, was spread over more workers, and what we saw is that very rapidly our productivity per head was decreasing, also because the revenue from Airbnb was going down with more people coming in. At the moment, so we went through a period where we were with 20 people managing about 150 places. At that time, the occupancy rate went down to a little over 60%. That meant that our revenue per apartment went from 40 man to somewhere close to 25 man. Which meant that basically, even though our number of apartments was much bigger, the productivity per head needed to be shared per person. So we were capable, by increasing our productivity a little bit, because we went from 4 per person to, let's say, 20 at 160 places, to 8 per person. So the number of places that per person we were able to manage increased, doubled from 4 to 8. But at the same time, the revenue per house was going down, because the Airbnb market was getting more and more saturated. So as you can see, even though our productivity doubled, or actually our physical productivity doubled, because the revenues were under pressure, our actual the way that we measure productivity as the added value that was generated did not increase so much. Now, and today, we are at a productivity of a physical productivity where we are managing about 30 places per person. So we went from 4 to 8 to 30 places, but the margins in Airbnb have gone down. So while we physically improved ourselves a lot, the only thing that we actually achieved was that we are able to survive, because there are more and more people entering this market who know how to play the game, who put the revenue under pressure. So we constantly need to increase our physical productivity, otherwise we cannot survive. But it doesn't mean that the economy as a whole productivity is being realized because of the rising productivity, the efficiency goes up, and basically it puts a downward pressure on the prices, and therefore it seems like productivity is not increasing so much, even though we can do much more with the same event. So if that happens for an economy as a whole, we can see why it is possible that basically, even though we have done things better, that benefit is actually being passed off to the customers as they can get their products for cheap, or if they're just coming too many entrants into a market. If the margins are low, people immediately flock into a new market, into the Airbnb market, and the prices go down, and the productivity is not realized. The increase in productivity.
So your definition for productivity in this case is your productivity going to be doubled, or productivity not growth is not.
In this case, we need to differentiate between the physical productivity and the productivity as it is measured in our GDP, right? So the physical productivity is we went from productivity where one person was capable to manage 4 places, from 20 people who were capable of managing 160 places. So from one people who manages 4 to for one person who manages 20. Now we are capable for one person to manage 60 places, right? So we went from 4 to 20 to 60, which is a dramatic increase in physical productivity. But at the same time, the revenue per room went down dramatically because so many more people entered into this market. So the prices, the revenue actually went down. That means that the added value that we have per person actually decreased a lot. Per house, we rent it, let's say, for 10 months, but we only have a revenue of maybe 15 months. So that means that we went from 40 months per house to 15 months per house. That means that actually our added value per house has dramatically increased. So even though we have become physically much more productive, we in terms of the added value to our GDP, we have not actually become much more productive at all. Even though we're doing things physically much better, our added value to the economy is still about the same. So basically, we are just surviving. We need to be more productive because we are working under smaller margins.
So what about productivity?
So what I'm saying is that even though productivity in our economy, where in our economy we see that the prices are under pressure, the revenue are under pressure. If the productivity increases, that those productivity gains are given back to the customers, right? If Intel is doubling the power of their chip, it will be also doubled by ARM. That means that even though the product becomes twice as good, they cannot all of a sudden start to charge twice as much money.
I understand, but in this case, is value added. Comparing productivity is a different definition. So those cases, productivity is drastically increased, right?
It's not. We can produce more. Like I said, we can manage 60 houses instead of 4. But basically, the way that productivity is being managed, being measured, that as the increase in GDP per person, we do not increase so much because the revenue per house is radically decreased.
Okay, so you're talking about productivity per each house rent revenue.
So no, well, actually, even the person, a person is not making much more money because even though the Q, the revenue basically is price times quantity, right?
Yeah. So
So
your definition is productivity per each renting house revenue or profit
per worker.
per worker.
No, not per house, per worker.
Per worker. Yes, per worker. Per worker cost.
Even though he
Per
can do
worker cost.
physically manage. So even though the physical output going from 4 houses to 60 houses, but the added value per house, so the difference between for what we rent the house and what we sell the house has been dramatically decreased, right? So the added value per worker did not go from 4 to 60, like 1,500 times more, of like 1,500% more. But actually, the productivity did not increase that much because the revenue per house actually decreased a lot. It went from 400% to maybe less than 50% per house. So these things work against each other. So what you see in an economy where we are becoming more and more productive, a lot of the potential gain in productivity growth, in the actual added value to the GDP, is under pressure because while we becoming better at it, people do not all of a sudden get much more money, so we need to sell those things. And people do not all of a sudden, if the chip becomes twice faster, the price of a MacBook Pro doesn't double to twice the price. The price remains more or less stable.
Okay, maybe I understand. Just consider for the semiconductor chips, and this price is every year down and going down, but productivity is actually drastically increased, but price is going down. It means no productivity growth.
Exactly. So it doesn't go well. So what we see is that we have much better PCs over time, but we are not paying more for them. The price remains more or less stable. So you can say that physically our machine that we are working with is much more productive, but we're not paying for it. We don't see it in our GDP.
Okay.
So.
はい、皆さんこんにちは、Unnoです。今日はですね、Unno塾の研修のプログラムをご紹介したいと思います。で、こういうふうなホームページありますけれども、ぜひですね、一度中身をご覧になっていただきたいと思います。今日はブーキューブさんのスタジオに来て、この収録をしておりますので、中身はこういうふうになってて、今最近ホットなね、グローバルリーダーの定義など書いてあります。で、特に経団連が作成しました留学すれば英語ができて専門性を持つというだけではですね、グローバルリーダーになれないとここに書いてありますようにですね、仕事ができる、専門性を持つ、英語ができるだけじゃなくてですね、私どもの塾ではリベラルアースということ、それからもう一つは孫子の兵法、さらにはですね、日本の歴史というものを合わせて教えることによって皆さんが海外の欧米の方々と、もしくは華僑圏の方々と正々堂々と渡り合えるような人物を育成しようというふうなことを考えています。ここに次のスライドが出ておりますけれども、ここに書いてありますのはですね、さらに、私どものUnno塾の中身につきましてはですね、欧米の資料しか使っておりません。また実際にUnno塾は英語でやっておりますので、英語の講師がこう話しておりますけど、学習はですね、日本の歴史をまだ教えて